as we roll into 2025, maybe you're thinking, I don't want to miss any of those deadlines. I don't want to have penalties. I don't want to be stressed. I want to know exactly what's going on related to W-2s, 1099s, your 940s, your 941s, all the things. We've got you covered. If we've never met before, hi. I'm Candus Kampfer. I love to help business owners and bookkeepers create confidence with QuickBooks, and this has been a much requested PDF and video. I do this every single year. Now, you may have some differences depending on what state you are, but these are general guidelines that I wanted to make sure you know about, okay? So I've put together some slides. Let's go through them. If you don't want to miss any of these dates, you can also download the PDF by going to canduskampfer.com/2025. I'll put the link up above and down below so you can just download it and go through it. So first thing to know is that last year they changed the filing requirements that if you have 10 or more combined both 1099s and W-2s, you needed to e-file. Okay, so that's still true for this year. So if you look at your different things that you have going on and you go, I have more than 10 of everything combined, make sure you file it with the IRS. I've linked the IRS website that talks about this. This change actually happened last year, but in case you didn't know it or you're a new business, I want to make sure you know about it. It is a lot easier just to e-file than go to a store and get some forms. But if you want to do that, you can. It's up to you. When you're e-filing, you can e-file straight through Intuit, or you can do some of the other websites. So stay tuned to find out more about that. I have an extra video that I'm be doing for you. Now, as far as 1099s are concerned, there are two main types of 1099s that we focus on in QuickBooks. That is the 1099 NEC. So this is going to be for independent contractors, people, and if they qualify, there's some guidelines around that as well. Know that you want to, if you're going to file with Intuit, you want to e-file by the 28th, okay, of January by 5 p.m. Pacific, so they can process it and get it out because it's due by the 31st to be out to the mail postmarked for the contractors. If you are mailing it and you don't have to qualify for the e-filing, make sure you get it in the mail by the 31st. Now, 1099 miscellaneous, this is for rent and for other things like that. You have a deadline of the payee, the person you're providing it to, by January 31st. If you are e-filing it, you want to get it to, and you're doing it with Intuit, you want to get it through QuickBooks by January 28th, and they'll get it in the mail by the 31st. IRS requires their specific copy to be sent to them if you're mailing it by March 31st for 1099 miscellaneous. Now, in my rule of thumb, I have this down here, just get it done in January, peace of mind, it's over with, okay? The recipient has to have it by the end of January. IRS, you get a little bit more time, okay? If you're going to mail it, you have to get it to them, and you're not e-filing by February 28th, okay? So it just kind of depends, how are you getting IRS their copy? Now let's talk about payroll, year end of payroll. W-2s, this is for people, so 1099s, if you're doing like an NEC, is those independent contractors, people you don't pay payroll taxes on. W-2s, W-3 are the people you're paying payroll taxes on, that you have to get it to them by, okay? So if you have employees, you can start processing your W-2s on January 1st if you don't have, and you're using QuickBooks Online, if you don't have the auto taxes turned on. In other words, you have it turned off, you can start processing them on January 1st. If you have QuickBooks automatically pay your taxes for you, you have that lever turned on, January 15th, okay? If you are e-filing your W-2s, they'll be available to print on January 1st, January 15th, okay? Tentatively. Now, that's what they say. Sometimes it's not true. I just want to make sure if they're out there. E-filing, you want to make sure it's done by the 28th if you're going to have QuickBooks send it to your employees. And then the Social Security side, the SSA, the red one, typically, would go, if you printed the forms, would be e-filed by January 31st, okay? They need to get it by January 31st. If you are mailing your W-2s out, you're not e-filing them, you don't have more than 10 with all your different forms, you qualify for that, you must furnish the different copies, the B, the C, and the 2 for your W-2s to your employees by January 31st, okay? It needs to be postmarked to them. If through Intuit, the W-2 forms will be mailed. So if you process it through e-file, Intuit will mail it and they'll make sure it's postmarked by January 31st. It also goes into, pretty sure it goes into the workforce too, so that people can get it that way and download it themselves. The W-2 forms are mailed to the employees through the USPS, usually sometime between when you file it. So sometime between January 16th at the earliest to the 31st, okay? But then it has to get there. All the dates are always subject to change. This is just what I had at the time of recording this. It could change, okay? 940 form. So the 940 form is your federal unemployment tax. The deadline for this is if you deposited all of your FUTA taxes throughout the year, the federal unemployment tax, the 940, you can mail it by February 10th. If it was me, as I always say, just get it done by January 31st. You're good to go. Okay. 941, this is our federal Social Security and Medicare taxes. You want to make sure that the form is filed, the return is done. So you always pay your taxes first, and then you want to get the form filed by the 31st of January. So it's to them. I recommend e-filing it. It makes it so much easier. Every state is different, so check with your state. Most states are going to be due on the 31st as well, January 31st. Now, sales tax. Depending if you're monthly, quarterly, depending on when you pay it, the payments are usually due monthly, and then you file them quarterly. And then on your quarters are typically January through March is due in April. April to June is due in July. July to September is due in October at the end of basically each month. And then October to December in the following January. Now, as always, these dates could change, so make sure you check with your specific state. If you're an annual filer, you're most likely going to be due on January 31st. And depending on the different things, if you're a qualified purchaser, you have until April 15th. Remember that usually prepayments, depending on the state, this is California specifically, usually due around the 24th of each month. You make the payments ahead of time, then you file your return on the quarter for sales tax. Now, estimated taxes, depending on what you have going on with your business, these are some dates that could be true for you. January to March, the first payment by April 15th, April to May by June 16th, June to August, September. Now you'll notice they're not 3-month increments. I remember the first time I created this video, I was like, wait, what? And I went and did the research. I was like, okay, I don't do taxes. I teach QuickBooks, but I give you guys this information. So if you ever have questions, check with your tax professional. That's a good disclaimer. September to December by January 15th. Now, there are differences sometimes between business estimated taxes and personal estimated taxes, so make sure you are checking with your tax professional on all of those. Now, one thing to remember, and this is just a great tip to know, is that if you have filed with your state, check and make sure when it's due. For example, California, you have to file it 6 months after you set up your entity. You have to file every year to let them know if you're incorporated, you filed with the state, who the current owners are, that kind of thing. So I remember having a client that didn't know this and then had a huge penalty. So it's $25 if you file it, it's like $500 if you don't, or whatever in the state of California as a penalty. So just check and see if you need to be filing a statement of information with your Secretary of State every single year for your entity. Some are free, some charge a small fee, but check that out if you didn't know that. Now, I recently did a video about the BOI and the changes with all that. So if you're going, what about the BOI? Currently, it's on pause. I don't know what's going to happen in the future. When I'm recording this, it is. If you have questions, make sure to check that out. We'll also link it down below for you and up above, but check out the BOI and some of the things. If you do need to file it, I have a whole tutorial for you on that. It's really easy. So remember, if you want to download this, so you're like, hey, I just want this all on a list that I can look at, you can go to canduskampfer.com/2025. And I have a question for you, something to be considering, since I love to help you with your QuickBooks. Think about when you pull your profit and loss in your QuickBooks, is it designed for your business? When you look at it, if you were saying on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being it's not dialed in at all, 10 is like, when I look at it, I know exactly what's happening in your business. Take the time to think about this. We're talking about deadlines, but the whole reason we use QuickBooks is what? To help you make business decisions. So I want you to consider, how can you read, like how well are you able to digest and understand your business currently with how you're using your QuickBooks? Are you able to make decisions? And if you say, yes, 2025 is the year I want to get my QuickBooks figured out, I am hosting a free training in January. You can always save your seat at canduskampfer.com/workshop. I do these a few times a year. So if you're happy to be watching this and it's after, check out that and see if there's happens to be a workshop coming up. But we want to talk about how do we start designing QuickBooks around your business. I'm going to give you the things that what I call starting with the end in mind that most people never even think about. There's, you think QuickBooks can be so easy, and then you start using it and you're like, oh, I'm going to give you some tips on if you're brand new to QuickBooks, what to consider. And if you've been using it for years, maybe why it's not designed specifically for you. It's a free training, so come join me. And if you need any other help with your QuickBooks this year, this year I'm going to figure out, make sure you can always email us at support@candacekamfer.com. We have different training resources. We can teach you the A to Z's of how to use QuickBooks. We can teach you how to clean up mistakes. That's a common question that we get asked. Or if you need help with payroll, let us know. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. I hope this helped you feel a little less stressed about the deadlines and more present to just when they are. And as long as you remember what they are, then you can start working towards it. I would recommend, if you're going to do 1099, start working on getting all of that information together now, so that as it gets closer, don't push off the deadline too much. People always get stressed last minute. Don't be the last minute person. And if you're new here, don't forget to subscribe and give this video a thumbs up. We send these tips out every single week through email, so you can always check that out as well. And I will see you inside our next tip and trick. Let me know if any of these dates were ahas for you, or if you have any questions. I'll see you inside our next tip and trick. Have a great day. Bye.